Welcome in, Bills Mafia. Welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast presented by GoBillsPodcast.com. I am joined by a special guest that's been all over the world pretty much this past week. You've seen him on Nickel City Mafia. You've probably seen him on the Red, White, and Bills. I don't know if he's been on there yet, but he's been all around the world making the rounds, talking about his team, the Miami Dolphins, that is our arch rival going into this week. But I have to give him the credit where it's due. He's doing his job, making the rounds, doing everything that he can possibly do because his team is on fire right now. And we got to talk about this matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. So I'm bringing in Dolphin Keith, who is a passionate Dolphins fan and somebody that has a tattoo of the Dolphins on him, as well as I think on his wedding ring. Doesn't it have a Dolphins logo on it?
It does. It does. You can't quite see it, but yeah. Can't believe my wife allowed that, but yeah.
Hey, mine won't do that. So I was trying to get like some type of Buffalo Bills emblem on my ring that I'm going to get in November, but she's like, nope, that's not happening. Sucks that she won't do that, but it is what it is. It's understandable. When we win the Super Bowl, I promise you I'm going to get a ring, though, for sure. So
nice.
But Keith, man, you've been all around the world this week, doing your thing. You got that map behind you, all the places that you've been with your wife and everything, all the places you've been doing the talk shows and everything as well. So tell me, how's your week been so far?
It's been good. I've been talking to a lot of Bills fans, obviously. I don't think anybody really knows how this game's going to go. And that's the beauty of doing all these shows this week is where, the Jets are playing, for example, the Chiefs on Sunday. We all know how that game's going to go. There's no real parity there. But with the Dolphins Bills, you really don't know how this game's going to go. So it keeps things it keeps things fun, keeps things really light.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I'll tell you that. This is going to be one where, we're looking at a team that is coming off of what could have been the most points ever scored in an NFL game. And you saw what happened when the Mike McDaniels decided to do the classy move. And it's not Mike McDaniels, it's Mike McDaniel. He decided to make the classy move, and he took the knee and turned the ball over on downs, which is the classy move to do in that situation. Probably if I was the coach, I would have kicked the ball just to get the record for most points ever. But it is what it is. But, hey, I'll tell you this. Teams coming off of that type of performance and scoring that many points after a game, 1-6 in their next game against the next team. So we'll see how the Miami Dolphins fare up against the Buffalo Bills. But I wanted to bring you in, talk a little bit about the Miami Dolphins. You've watched the first 3 matchups that the Dolphins have played. I want to hear your perspective of what you've seen from the Miami Dolphins so far in the first 3 weeks.
I've seen some really nice things on offense. I've seen some really innovative things with coaching. And I've seen a defense that's still kind of finding their way. And that's kind of where I struggle with this game. If the defense, was starting to gel at all, I would think I would be a lot more confident that the Dolphins beat the Bills. But the defense really they haven't come together yet. And they're missing one of their top players in Jalen Phillips on Sunday. So I've seen some good things. I've seen some bad. But you're not supposed to peak in week 3. You're not supposed to peak in week 4. And I don't believe the Dolphins have. There's better football for them to play yet.
You are exactly right, Keith. I mean, this is a team that's coming off of a historic performance, but like you said, I don't think they peaked yet either. And you actually beat me to the bush about talking about the injury reports for both teams. So let's bring up your injury report. You can see it on the bottom of the screen, the tracker that we have here. Few injuries that are notable for both teams. Biggest one for the Miami Dolphins is going to be Jalen Phillips is going to be out of this game. One of your premier pass rushers will be out of this game. That does put a blow on the odds of getting to Josh Allen, but you also have a couple of guys that are going to be questionable in Saman Ahmed as well as Terran Armstead. And then you have Deshaun Elliott as well. And then there's one other person that is going to be out for the game. I'm going to let the ticker show it off, though, but I can't remember who the other person was.
Connor Williams is questionable as well.
That's right.
The Dolphins also put River Craycraft on IR today. Maybe it was yesterday. Either way, River Craycraft's going to miss the next 4 games. And that's actually an underrated big loss for the Dolphins because Tua trusts him. And, you're not going to go out and pick him up in your fantasy team unless he's a touchdown-dependent guy. But when Tua is being rushed, when the chips are down, River Craycraft's one of those guys that Tua always looks for. So that's a big loss for Tua. It's a heavy blow. And Robbie Chosen's going to step in like he did last week when the starters came out. And I'm hoping he can do the things that River Craycraft did.
That's right. And you're also gaining another player coming back as well. You have Jalen Waddle is coming back. And, after the concussion, he's coming back to play, which is going to be extremely important for you guys because you have a number 1 receiver in Tyreek Hill, but you're going to need all your weapons going up against the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be something that's very important. And adding Waddle to take a little bit of pressure off of Tyreek Hill in this game because the Buffalo Bills are going to double team Hill if it was just Hill out there. That's what they would do. They play press on him and double team him just to be able to stop him and make sure that he doesn't get deep down the field. So now you add in Jalen Waddle as well. And it not only does it help you guys, but it's going to make your offense harder to stop. So I wanted to ask you this. What is the biggest difference from last year that you've seen with this team compared to this year? Because there's a big difference that I've noticed from watching the Miami Dolphins versus last year to this year. And maybe it could be coaching. Maybe it could be something else that you're seeing. But I noticed a couple of things that are different from the previous Miami Dolphins team to this year. So what do you think?
There are 3 things that come to mind, to be honest with you, Brett. First and foremost, the offensive line is playing much better football. They're healthier, and they're healthier, and they're doing a better job of just protecting Tua. But secondly, there's been more of an emphasis on getting the ball out of Tua's hands quicker. I think he's first in the league in getting the ball out at 2.2 seconds, I believe. So that's another thing that's really helped the Dolphins offense, helped Tua become comfortable within the pocket. But the biggest thing that I see is Mike McDaniel. You're seeing a maturation with Mike McDaniel as a coach and as a play caller. He's done a really nice job of disguising what he's doing. He's done a really good job. He's done a really nice job of committing to the run, especially. That's something I was calling for him to do all summer. You heard me, Brett. I wanted him to commit to the run more often. I wanted much closer to a 50-50 ratio run to pass, and he's gotten closer to that. And against the Broncos on Sunday, running the ball worked, and he stuck with it. He didn't make Tua drop back to pass, didn't put Tua in unnecessary danger. So, yeah, those are the 3 things that I see offensively. And defensively, like I said, they're still finding their way.
Yeah, I've noticed a big difference between last year and this year, especially running the football. That's one thing that I've noticed a lot of. You have 2 really good running backs on your team in Raheem Mostert as well as Devon. I'm going to try and say it right. A chain. So, so I guess it was Jake. He corrected me on that earlier on in the week. He wants to be called Devon A. Chan, not a chain. So I've been pronouncing it wrong all season as well, Brett. Yeah, it's hard to pronounce, though. I'll tell you that. It's hard to pronounce. But you have 2 really good running backs in Mostert, who's on my fantasy team, and I absolutely love. And if you sat him last week, you it sucks that happened, that you sat him and he was somebody that went off. But if you're one of the guys like me and you started him and he went absolutely off, I'm going to try and sit him this week just because he's playing against my Buffalo Bills. I don't like to play the players that are playing against the Buffalo Bills just because it's bad juju in my family. It usually happens that way. So, you know, you don't want to play anybody that goes up against Buffalo. That's the case that you're going to do. So it's one of those things where you just don't want to play anybody that goes up against your team. But I do notice a lot of the Mike McDaniel running the ball in situations. And then I've also noticed a lot of Vic Fangio's defense. It's a big difference in what he's doing compared to what we saw last year with your defensive coordinator. I'm trying to remember his name.
Josh Boyer.
Boyer, that's right. I knew it was close to Poyer, so I knew it was close to Jordan Poyer, and I knew it was something similar. But a big difference that you've seen from Vic Fangio's defense, and I've noticed more of Bradley Chubb stepping up as well. That's somebody that really needed to step up for the Miami Dolphins, and you've noticed that a lot this year. And it seems like this defense is really starting to get going under Vic Fangio. Now, the sacks aren't there yet. We haven't seen a ton of sacks whatsoever, but it's starting to come together slowly but surely, like you said. So I want to start with the defense, talk about them, and then we'll focus on the offense because the offense is you have all these playmakers and everything. So let's start with the defense of the Miami Dolphins and break them down, and then I'll get into the Buffalo Bills, and we'll talk about some matchups that we're going to see between the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. So let's start with your defense. Talk about some of the main guys that have been really hitting it off for the Miami Dolphins and players that maybe the Bills Mafia doesn't know about that they should get to know in this game.
Well, first and foremost, you have Javon Holland playing free safety for the Dolphins. He's playing at an all-pro level right now. He's, I think he's rated number 1 in Pro Football Focus, actually, in the NFL. He's having a great season, and he's always around the ball. He reminds me a lot of Rashad Jones, number 20 for the Dolphins. Number 20 in your playbook's number 1 in your heart. Back in the day. But Javon Holland actually has more talent. He's super fast. He's always around the ball. It's great to see his maturation process. He's going into his 3rd season this year, and he's really starting to come into his own. Another guy who I've noticed playing really well has been Javon Holland's running mate back there, Deshaun Elliott. Deshaun Elliott he plays really nice coverage. And the thing with Vic Fangio's scheme that's different from Josh Boyer's scheme is that Vic Fangio plays 2 high safeties to prevent the big play. Whereas Josh Boyer, his defense is really blitz reliant. And Vic Fangio tries not to rely on the blitz as much. He times his blitzes he times it in a much more timely fashion. But by not blitzing, he's basically playing the bend, don't break defense. So you got Javon Holland, Deshaun Elliott kind of as the last line of defense, and they've done a really nice job with that. But in this Vic Fangio scheme, Brett, there's been a lot of guys who have underperformed, which is why I'm so worried about the defense. Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer haven't performed like I'm used to them performing. Even Bradley Chubb, he's made some nice splash plays every now and then, but he disappears for long stretches within these games. Jalen Phillips, who's out, has been largely ineffective. He's been largely held in check by most of the opposing team's offensive linemen. And, so replacing Jalen Phillips is a guy, Andrew Van Ginkel, who's been kind of a Swiss Army knife for the Dolphins thus far in his career. And he's a guy that's been playing really well. I think he'll do a nice job of stepping in for Jalen Phillips. And honestly, like his one game where Jalen Phillips didn't play against the Patriots, Van Ginkel had his best game of the season. He has maybe the best game of any defensive player on the Dolphins all season long.
Let me stop you right there, though, because I want to mention Van Ginkel because not only did he have a good game against the Patriots, he also has probably the best hair in the NFL, which is something that, you got to talk about. And I want to give him some love as well because, I don't like to give love during the week of rivalry week. It's just something that I don't like to do. But one thing that I did see was on Good Morning Football that Peter Schrager wore his jersey as well, which is something that, you got to love as well because you get to see all these big players. You get to see Dak Prescott, the Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, these big players that are, their jerseys, they sell their jerseys. And, you got Travis Kelce as well. That's up 400% in jersey sales. But then you get to see a guy like Andrew Van Ginkel, and you get to see his jersey out there, and it's a different jersey that you don't normally see. You probably see a lot of it at Dolphins games, but you don't normally see it out and about. And when you get to see those types of jerseys, that's what gets me excited about football, because it's like you have to look him up on Google and go, who the hell is this guy? Because I don't know who it is. I'm going, who the hell is 43 on the Dolphins? You see these jerseys and everything, and I go, I don't know who that is. I don't know who, this player is or that player is. But now I got to start thinking about that player and wondering, should I know him? Maybe I should. Or maybe he's just that guy that's on, that's backup that nobody's ever heard of, and that's his, dad that's wearing his jersey, but, that's not the case. But Van Ginkel has been playing pretty damn good ball as well. Yeah. He's a good linebacker in this league, and he's got a lot of promise as well. So I will say that about the Miami Dolphins. He's one of the key matchups that I think is going to be important for the Miami Dolphins to stopping the Buffalo Bills offense.
Well, the Dolphins started him out at middle linebacker this season. And actually week 1, he played majority of the middle linebacker snaps for them in favor of David Long, who they signed in the offseason. And, he was always kind of an edge guy. He was always kind of an outside linebacker edge guy prior to this season. The Dolphins tried him out at middle linebacker, and he did all right. But when he played the edge primarily in week 2 against the Patriots, that's when he really popped off. So the beautiful thing about Andrew Van Ginkel is that he's really versatile. And that's becoming more and more of a rarity in today's game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with that, because versatility is something that's really important. And the Bills have a guy on their team that's probably one of the most versatile players that you can have in the league, in Taylor Rapp. Now, the Bills are going to be without Jordan Poyer this week, and I'll get into the Buffalo Bills as well. I'll start with the injuries that we're going to see for the Buffalo Bills. And one of the injuries you're going to see is Jordan Poyer is going to be out. And that versatility, like you talked about, the Bills are going to have to play Taylor Rapp or Damar Hamlin. One of the two, I believe it's going to be Taylor Rapp that's going to get the start at free safety. But you will see Damar Hamlin active for this game because of the injury to Jordan Poyer. Now, having Taylor Rapp out there is going to be important because you can move him all around the field. Not only can you play him at the free safety position, but you can also play him at the linebacker position where he can come up in coverage and be that third linebacker in the Bills defense when we really run that 2 linebacker sets, and he can come in and help in the run game, which is something that's going to be very important. But in this game, it also helps because he can also be a 5th blitzer or 6th blitzer off the edge as well, because he does a really good job of blitzing quarterbacks as well. But this is going to be a game where I don't think that he's going to be blitzed a lot in this game. I don't think he's going to be blitzing a lot in this game. I don't think he's going to be a linebacker, but he does have that versatility where you can use him in certain situations to be a linebacker or an off-ball edge rusher, which is something that you could see, but he's going to be that guy that's going to have to play deep and cover Tyreek Hill in this game, and he does do a good job of tackling as well. So he's somebody that you're going to have to worry about. But let's get into talking about the Buffalo Bills on offense, and you're going to have to stop the likes of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, and now you have to stop the middle of the field for the Buffalo Bills, which is going to be tough in the DK brothers in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. So you're going to have some new weapons that you're going to have to figure out a way to stop. And it seems like to me that one of the ways that the Bills can target a weakness in the Miami Dolphins defense is going to be targeting the middle of the field. And that's probably why Buffalo brought in a guy like Dalton Kincaid, because you can use the middle of the field with Kincaid. And it always seems like in a Vic Fangio scheme that the middle of the field is wide open. Would you agree with that comment?
Yeah, I would. And that's been a major weakness of the Dolphins defense thus far. Their linebackers need to play better. Their linebackers need to do a better job of covering the tight ends.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with the Miami Dolphins that they do need to do a better job of covering the tight ends, but I'm going to agree with you next week that they need to do that because this is Buffalo Bills week, and we need to see a big week from Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox and players like that in order to be able to win this game for the Buffalo Bills. And if you're going to win the game, it's going to be quick targets to guys like Dalton Kincaid over the middle of the field and utilize the yards after the catch. If Josh Allen is smart in this game, you're going to have to be able to take what the defense gives you. When the middle of the field's wide open, target Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox when it's open. And also look for the matchups with guys like Eli Apple that's going to be playing in this game against Stephon Diggs. There's been some bitterness between Stephon Diggs and Eli Apple going back to when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals and a lot of the drama that he says. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to say this with all due respect. Eli Apple is a bitter apple when it comes to playing against Stephon Diggs. I'm going to say it right now. You're going to see it out there. It's going to be chippy. It's going to be very tight and everything. The coverage is going to be good. There's going to be some battles won by Eli Apple. There's going to be some battles won by Stephon Diggs. But for me, focusing on how the Bills can win this game is going to have to be involving Stephon Diggs. When it's one-on-one coverage, you're going to have to go after Eli Apple or whoever is covering Stephon Diggs. Now, for you, I would like to know, because we're also going to have viewers from the Miami Dolphins come in as well. How can the Miami Dolphins stop Stephon Diggs in this game?
Well, I mean, you don't stop Stephon Diggs. Just like you don't stop Tyreek Hill. You have to mitigate what he can do to you. But, you can put two guys on him. I think it's ill-advised to put Eli Apple on Stephon Diggs because Stephon Diggs is going to win that matchup 9 times out of 10. But I think what the Dolphins need to do is let Stephon Diggs get his because he's going to get his anyway. And Josh Allen's always going to look for Stephon Diggs first. So, not let Stephon Diggs get his, but understand that Stephon Diggs is going to get his and try and mitigate the other aspects of the Bills offense, like Dalton Kincaid, like Dawson Knox, like James Cook. These are the guys, Gabe Davis. These are the guys that you have to, these guys that are kind of off to the side. These are the guys that you need to shut down. And also, but another thing you want to do when in regards to Stephon Diggs, because Josh Allen is always going to look for Stephon Diggs first, you might want to disguise some coverages, roll some coverages Stephon Diggs' way, and maybe try to undercut a pass Josh Allen's going to fit in there, try and fit in there. The thing about Josh Allen is he sometimes gets impatient and he tries to force balls where they shouldn't go.
Yeah,
and
completely agree with you.
So this is something the Dolphins need to play into. So when I say let Stephon Diggs get his, let him get his 8-yard button hook pass. Let him get his 6-yard crosser. That's fine. What you want to do is you want to mitigate the big play. And if you can mitigate the big play and maybe take that away from Josh Allen to where he gets impatient and maybe tries to force a ball where he shouldn't force it, then you're beating Josh Allen. And only then are you beating Josh Allen. But the other aspect of the Bills offense that I need to talk about here, Brett, is Josh Allen's legs.
Yeah.
He's run for an average of 55 yards against the Dolphins in his last 10 games. The Dolphins need to keep that to a minimum as well. You do that by spying Josh Allen. So I would personally get Brandon Jones. The Dolphins he's normally their strong safety, but because of this Vic Fangio scheme, he doesn't really have a position. I would get Brandon Jones and I would spy him with Josh. I would spy Josh Allen with him.
Sorry. I had it on mute for just a second as I was looking something up, though. But yeah, I would totally do that too, because this is a game where Josh Allen's legs can be utilized in this game. Now, the Bills are not relying as much on Josh Allen's legs throughout the season. They're relying more on James Cook. And I kind of feel like what you're saying kind of reflects on what Buffalo is going to have to do in this game is utilize the run game to take some of the possessions away from the Tua and the offense. And that kind of plays into what Buffalo wants to do, in my opinion. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to play the devil's advocate of what you're saying here, because I think the Bills are going to run the ball a lot in this game, dictate the time of possession in this game, as well as take the short stuff, take what the defense gives you, because then it will limit the amount of times that Tua is going to be on the field. And if you win the time of possession battle in this game, I think that the defense for the Miami Dolphins is going to get gassed. That's going to be something that's going to happen. I also think that Tua is going to start getting impatient. You're going to see deep throws down the field that play into where Buffalo has some strengths, which is they haven't allowed a lot of deep passes down the field, which I believe will lead to some interceptions in this game for Tua. And it always seems to me like Tua, when it comes to playing against the Buffalo Bills, he doesn't play his best games. And you might agree with me on that. It always seems like the Bills confuse him. You know, their defense is complicated, but the Bills do rely a lot on the zone scheme of things, which is something that also plays into the strengths of the Miami Dolphins as well, which is something that kind of worries me. So I'm playing the devil's advocate on this because the Bills on offense can limit the amount of times that the Bills on offense can limit the amount of times that the Dolphins are on offense. And then on defense, it's going to have to be playing that two deep safety like you're talking about for the same thing that the Buffalo Bills offense is going to do to you. We're gonna have to play the same thing with the two deep safeties as well. And it's going to be tough, but you're going to have to rely on the run game. And I think whoever's run game starts to get going and whoever's run game gets going fast in this game is going to dictate the play of this game and who's going to win it. Because if you run the ball on our teams, I think the first team that has a big gain in this game and is able to run the ball consistently is going to win the game in the end. But it's going to be close, just like John Roberts said. He was the first comment that came up. He said this is going to be a close game, but there's a lot of little things that can you can plug and play for both teams that can dictate how they can win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, Brett, sorry about that.
Is that your alarm for work?
Yeah, that was my alarm for work. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like it though. Well, hey,
it's a nice peaceful way to wake up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's better than
yeah,
move, bitch, get out the way or something like that. That's coming on. Hey,
but
I have the drill sergeant one. It's it tells you to rise and shine and get your ass up out of bed. I like that one. So it is what it is. But hey, you gotta, it makes the cut and makes it into the show. It's always good to, get that in. So,
but no, to your point, Brett, about the running attack, like that's how the Chargers attacked the Dolphins in Week 1. They ran the ball down their throats, and they did a really nice job doing it. Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson, those guys were unstoppable in that game. And that's a concern of mine because if James Cook gets going in this game, the Dolphins are going to have a really rough afternoon, especially their defense. And that puts the pressure on the Dolphins offense to be flawless. And the Chargers defense is not the Bills defense. So what the Dolphins need to do, and also to your point, the more the Bills run the ball, the more they'll have the ball. And the best defense against a good offense is to not let the offense have the ball. So, teams have been doing that for years against great quarterbacks and against great offenses. Keep the ball out of the offense's hands.
Yep.
So I can definitely see the Bills trying to run the ball with James Cook an awful lot. And if they're successful in doing so, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Dolphins. Yeah,
I completely agree with you there. I look back to the early 90s and I look back to that Super Bowl game against the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. And this is a game that kind of plays into that scheme of the Buffalo Bills are the team that they have a great defense. They have that Giants defensive style and everything. And then you have the Miami Dolphins that are kind of like the 90s Bills where they have that fast-paced offense that's able to just move the ball down the field very easily. and they can move the ball down the field at all times. And it's one of those things where you can move the ball down the field. I'm actually looking at your comment here on the private chat, but you said, why was Sean banned? I'm trying to figure out why he was banned, because I don't know why. But I'm sorry, Sean, if you're watching the show and you got banned. I don't know what happened, but it might have been one of the comments that came up that you wrote that might have just gotten flagged, and somebody flagged it on YouTube possibly, which could have happened. But getting back to my point about the Super Bowl run, you look at the high-powered offense of the Miami Dolphins, and they're a lot like that K-gun offense where they can move the ball down the field, score quickly. And the recipe that Bill Belichick created in that game, which was let them run the ball on us, but we're going to stop you in the passing game because we don't believe that you're going to run the ball. And that's the case that's been for the Miami Dolphins over the last couple of years, which has been, we know you're not going to run the ball. We're going to stop you in the passing game. And then we'll make you one-dimensional by running the ball, which plays into what Buffalo is going to do, which is let's run the ball as much as possible. Let's let them run the ball, which takes time off the clock for both teams and limits the amount of possessions that the Miami Dolphins are going to have to run. Because if you throw the ball, you can throw the ball as many times as you want. It stops the clock. If you run the ball, that's taking 30, 40 seconds off of the clock every single play, which plays into the Bills' hand. So if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm saying, hey, let's let them chew the clock up by running the ball as much as possible, but let's limit the amount of gains that you're going to see out here for the Miami Dolphins by letting them get 3-4 yards in the run game. Let them run the ball as much as possible, but we're going to stop the big plays. And the Bills are going to be one of the healthier teams, and they've been one of the healthiest teams in the NFL over the last 3 weeks. This is the first game that they're going to be without somebody. So Jordan Poyer is going to be out, which doesn't necessarily hurt the Buffalo Bills, I would say. Jordan Poyer is a great player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's a bad player whatsoever. That's not what I'm getting at. But you bring in Taylor Rapp, who's also an incredible player that played for the Rams. I don't think that that's a big difference in play compared to, okay, we're going to be without Von Miller and we don't have Leonard Floyd. And now we're going to have to rely on Shaq Lawson and Greg Rousseau. That's a big difference in spread. But having Taylor Rapp out there is going to help the Bills defense as well. So I think that the Bills are going to have to stop the run or let the Dolphins run in this game but also stop the deep passes down the field and just limit it to the little plays, just like we're talking about for the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be the way to win this game for both teams is take the dink and dunks, take what the defense gives you, but then when there's a big play that's deep down the field, you got to capitalize on those big plays, and whoever does that is going to win this game.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It's a matter of patience. It's going to be a war of attrition, for both sides, because it's not like Josh Allen's known for his patience either, Brett.
No, I would agree. I'm in agreement with you on that 100%. He's not known for his patience. He's one of the most impatient quarterbacks I've seen in the NFL. He reminds me a lot of Brett Favre in the case of, it's not the home run ball that bothers me. It's take the home run ball if it's there. I love that play. Don't get me wrong. It's the best play in the NFL. It's that 50-50. It's the hero ball. But it's the 50-50 ball that's 60, 70 yards down the field that can change, the possession battle, which is fine with me. I don't mind that. But if there's a player that's open that you missed, that's what upsets me the most about Josh Allen is there's players that are wide open and he throws it into triple coverage and double coverage and situations like that. He's not reading the field and visualizing and saying, hey, look, I have the running back here that I can hit, over the middle for a 5-yard gain. And then on the next play, Diggs might be one-on-one in coverage up top, and I can take that play and throw it deep to Diggs in one-on-one coverage. And if Diggs gets it, great. If not, then it's one-on-one coverage. Diggs lost the battle. The cornerback came up with the ball. That's fine. I get it. That happens. But when it's double or triple or even quadruple coverage, which I haven't seen a lot of him doing that, don't get me wrong. That was back in rookie year that he did that. That's the type of stuff that would piss me off. But now you're seeing double and triple coverage that he's trying to force the ball into. And it's just that play where he's like, I need to make a big play to be on SportsCenter's top 10 plays. And we don't need that right now. We have a team that you can march down the field on every single drive and you can score a touchdown right now. I'm not worried about the Bills moving down the field. I think we can get into the opponents at least to the 50-yard line on every single drive. Don't get me wrong. I think we can do it every single drive right now. But that's if Josh sees the defense and reads the defense very well. If he doesn't, then we're not going to move the ball down the field. And that's what it comes down to. But let's focus on one other area that I want to talk about with the defense of the Dolphins and the Bills offense, which is going to be the running game for the Buffalo Bills and this offensive line that you're going to be facing for the Buffalo Bills, which is a revamped offensive line versus your defensive line. And I want to get into this because of the run game and how important it is for the Bills to be able to get some penetration in the run game. And you got new guys that are coming in at the left guard position in Connor McGovern, and you also have Osiris Torrance that we've talked about a lot of this channel. We talked a lot about it on the Red, White, and Bills, and we've also talked about it a lot on the Nickel City Mafia and the AFC East Summit show that we do together. And now you're going to see this offensive line of the Buffalo Bills going against your defensive line with the likes of Christian Wilkins, Bradley Chubb as well. And I want to talk to you about this and how can not only the offensive line of the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to say how they can stop Christian Wilkins, but I want to ask you, how can the Miami Dolphins get to Josh Allen in this game?
Well, Van Ginkel is going to have a really good game. Bradley Chubb is going to have a really good game. But Vic Fangio is going to have to scheme up some blitzes that are going to confuse Josh Allen. And he's done that in the past. He was able to do that successfully against the Patriots. He confused Mac Jones, and the Patriots gave up a few big sacks to the Dolphins in that game. So it's going to be a combination of execution and scheme. As far as the Bills' running game goes, the Dolphins linebackers need to play better. David Long needs to play better. Jerome Baker needs to play better. But my problem with the Dolphins' front seven in particular is that it's not a particularly deep group. There's not a lot of depth there. So along the Dolphins' defensive line, you're going to rotate in. Maybe 4 or 5 guys throughout the game. And that's not a particularly deep group with a lot of – so the guys that they do have, they're impact players. But if they get tired out, the Bills are going to have a really easy time of, running the ball. The Bills are going to have a really easy time of throwing the ball. So what they need to do is they need to just play smart football, stick to their assignments, and maybe a timely blitz every now and then, a timely safety blitz that got Josh Allen last year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I mean, it's going to be one of those games where you're going to have to develop a good plan for when to blitz Josh Allen. Now, the problem is Josh Allen is also very smart when it comes to blitzes. So he's able to utilize his legs in those situations if you're doing that. But you're going to have to be smart when you do it. If it's a 3rd down and long, maybe you design a blitz or something like that. But it's going to be tough. I'm going to tell you that. And the Bills have to do the same thing. They have to be smart when they're going to blitz Tua as well. Because if you do, then you're more susceptible to the deep ball being thrown as well. So we'll see how this one goes. But let's get to the offense of both teams. Let's talk about – well, actually, I want to talk about the offense of the Miami Dolphins because this is something that you want to talk about especially. And we'll talk about my defense for the Buffalo Bills. But your offense, I mean, gosh, putting up 70 points on the Broncos. Now, it is the Broncos, don't get me wrong. But putting up 70 points, whoever you do that against, that's an incredible figure. Now, It wasn't against a great team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But to do it against any team in the NFL is incredible. But let's get to your offense and the playmakers that you have on offense. I mean, you have Jalen Waddle, who is a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL on any other team that you could possibly have. You have Tyreek Hill as well. You have Chosen Anderson that's coming into, well, Robbie Chosen now that he likes to be called, that's going to be playing. You also have Braxton Berrios on your team as well. So you're deep at the wide receiver position. And then you add in the tight end position that hasn't really been utilized in the Miami Dolphins offense. And that's something that with Tua, it really hasn't been utilized a lot. But you have the playmakers right now to get the offense going, and then add in the running backs and Mostert and Chan is how I'm going to pronounce it. I want to say it right. I got to say it right. It's going to be hard. And this offense is moving the ball down the field pretty much on every single drive. And it's quick passes, like you said, that they're doing that with. But this offense is going to face one of the better defenses in the NFL. And this is something that I wondered about, and I wanted to talk to you about specifically. This is partially why I brought you on to talk about it, is this is the biggest test for the Miami Dolphins on defense that they're going to face in the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. So I want to know from you, how can the Miami Dolphins, we talked about how they can move the ball down the field, but how can the Miami Dolphins be able to play smart, and how can the offensive line of the Miami Dolphins hold up against their biggest task of the year in terms of the Buffalo Bills defense?
Well, I mean, first I'd like to point out, Brett, that this is the Dolphins' biggest test. This is the Dolphins' biggest test of the season. This is the Bills' defense's biggest test of the season as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So, this isn't just a 1-to-1 thing. I mean, the Dolphins faced the Patriots defense, which is a good defense, and they were able to mitigate the Dolphins offense to an extent. There was a lot of unforced errors in that game. And I'm going to say this to you, Brett, like, that's how you beat the Dolphins. You force them, you wait for them to make unforced errors, because otherwise this is a track meet. This is a track team that the Dolphins have on offense. They're faster than any defense they're going to face. They're faster than any other offense in the NFL. They just zoom around the field, and it's impossible to stop unless they beat themselves. And by and large, that's how a lot of the Dolphins drives have ended. If they don't end in points, it's because the Dolphins beat themselves, not because the defense beat them. So, how I would attack the Bills is just be relentless and be unpredictable. And that's what they've done a really nice job of this season.
Yeah, and to get back to the Dolphins, though, I want to ask you. I asked you as well. The offensive line of the Dolphins. This is their biggest task as well, and we saw in the offseason and in training camp, there's a lot of talk about this offensive line, and they've done a pretty good job of holding Tua up throughout the whole entire season. Now, quick passes are what's getting it done. Do you think that this offensive line is going to hold up against the Buffalo Bills, who last week, if you remember, against Sam Howell, had 9 sacks in this game?
Yeah. Well, Sam Howell is a young, inexperienced quarterback who's always been prone to holding on to the ball for too long. Tua, especially after his injury woes last season, I think has learned that he can't hold on to the ball any more than 4 or 5 seconds. And if he does, well, there's an internal clock into it that's starting to develop that I was hoping was going to develop this offseason, where he, after a certain amount of time, he's ready to get rid of the ball. Sam Howell didn't necessarily have that, and that was to the the Commanders' detriment on Sunday. Man,
it's okay. They
keep on doing that, Brett.
Hey, they might go back to the Redskins' name. Don't get me wrong. Hey, no, you can mention it. They might go back. They were at one time the Redskins. You can say that. That's fine.
But it was to their detriment. It was Sam Howell did not play a good game. Sam Howell held onto the ball for far too long. Tua's not going to have that problem. Even if he doesn't have a guy open in 2 or 3 seconds, he's just going to get the ball out. And if it means he's throwing the ball at a guy's feet so nobody can get to it, that's fine. I think what Tua has learned much quicker than I thought he was going to, is that you don't have to hit a home run on every play, and not every play has to
Yeah.
be a positive gain. You can throw the ball away, throw the ball to guys' feet, move on to the next play. It doesn't have, sometimes the defense wins the battle, but
Yeah.
all you have to do is make sure that your offense wins the war. And so as far as the Dolphins offensive line goes, I think that they'll hold up all right against the Bills. But Sean McDermott's he's a good blitzing coach. So it's going to be incumbent upon the Dolphins offensive line to pick up those blitzes. You're probably not going to see as much of Devon Achane in this game because blitz pickup is not his forte. So you're probably going to see more of Raheem Mostert. Salvin Ahmed is going to be coming back from injury. Those guys are better at pass blocking than Devon Achane. So you're probably going to be seeing more of those guys, and you need them in there. You need them in there to protect Tua so that he gets the ball off.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I mean, you're saying exactly what I'm thinking is, this is going to be more of Mostert or Salvin Ahmed as well that's going to be playing in this game because you're right. I mean, Achane is not a good blocker in this league, and this is a game where you're going to see a lot.
He's a rookie.
Don't get me wrong. He's a rookie.
A lot of rookies struggle with pass protection. I'm not knocking him.
Yeah, he's got to work on his speed or work on his pass blocking. He's got to build up a little bit. He's a pro right now that's good at running the ball, and that's his strength. But he's got to work on other things and fundamentals that'll help him in the future. But I want to get into the special teams game for both teams because this is important to talk about. There's been some mishaps that have happened for the Miami Dolphins over the last couple of weeks, and you've seen a guy that I actually like, and I think he's a very good place kicker for your team, in Jason Sanders. And I want to bring him up and talk about him in the now special teams player of the month that had 31 points in the month of September. And we still have, he won't play in September actually because it's October 1st as the game will start. So I was thinking that we had another game that he was going to play in. My bad, guys. Can't keep track of the number of days in September. I'm sorry. I keep thinking 31 days in September. My bad. But 31 points in the month of September to play in. And you look at Tyler Bass and you look at Jason Sanders, who's missed a couple of kicks this year, a couple of important kicks. You talked about it last week, and you said that he needs to straighten things out.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at Jason Sanders, and this could come down to a game where Jason Sanders' leg is going to be important in this game to put the Dolphins in the lead or to win this game.
Yeah. And
the confidence that we have right now for Dolphins fans in Jason Sanders is probably about medium. I would say boiling water, medium, it's about on medium right now, and then cold. I would say it's right in the middle, medium to boiling hot.
Medium feels a little too cold to me, Brett. Jason Sanders hasn't been good for a couple of seasons. He was an All-Pro in 2020, and ever since he's been missing more and more kicks. And his two most high leverage kicks of this season, he missed. He had a chance to put the Dolphins up by 3 against the Chargers in Week 1. He missed that extra point, and it was a 55-yard field goal against the Patriots that would have put the game to bed. And okay, fine, it's a 55-yard field goal. Maybe you're not expected to make that kick, but you know what? You're paid to make that kick, and he didn't make that kick. So the two most high leverage kicks for Jason Sanders this season, he's missed. And it's becoming a concerning pattern for him. So if this game does come down to a Jason Sanders field goal, I'm sweating. I'm sweating bullets. And I think most Dolphins fans will join me in doing so.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. This is going to be a game that could come down to a field goal. And I would say of the two players, obviously, I'm going to say Tyler Bass is the one that I'm the most confident in making a kick because Bass over the last couple of years has been automatic when it comes to making kicks. He started off as a player that I absolutely loved when he came out of college. I loved him because he missed that first kick of his career in the NFL. And I was like, damn, this is the guy that I want on my team. I want him so badly. I wanted him so much more than Steve Hashka. That's the guy that I wanted all the way from the beginning. Obviously, guys, I'm kidding around when I say that. I was nervous about him coming in. I was nervous about the way that he was going to be. And I was like, man, I don't know about this guy. But, to fight off all the crap that he faced and the mistakes that he made, missing kicks and everything, and to come in and be a leader that we're confident in, that's something that Jason Sanders has got to figure out what's going on in his head, why he's missing those kicks, why they're, he's hooking them. Because, I'll tell you right now, I picked them to win a game that it came down to a spread, and I lost the spread because Jason Sanders missed that freaking kick. And that upset me. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you that right now. It upset me. But I want to see Jason Sanders, fix things after the Buffalo Bills game because, I hope he misses one really bad, and I hope it goes so far to the left that it ends up in the stands and ends up in the left side of the end zone, and he misses that kick so badly. But he can figure it out. How you see on the Madden where you see the arrow, and the arrow goes straight up the middle, and then it goes way to the left or way to the right. I want him to miss that thing so far to the freaking left. Funny. That's the case today or this week. But getting back to the special teams, I want to bring up one other thing and talk about the best battle that's going to happen out there on the field. Obviously, they're not going to be playing against each other on the field, but the best special teams battle that you can possibly have in terms of this game, which is going to be something that's kind of like I would say it's almost like the Kelsey Bowl that's going on. That happened in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
A matchup of the Ferguson brothers, Ferguson Bowl that's going to happen. This has been something that's going on for the last couple of years. Obviously, Blake Ferguson is a long snapper for the Miami Dolphins. You got Reed Ferguson, who's in, I want to say, his ancient years playing for the Buffalo Bills, though. But he's in the tail end of his career. Both guys, great guys, both played for LSU. If you look back, actually, LSU has had two Ferguson brothers play for their team for the last 8 years or so, I believe. So you have the Ferguson brothers playing against each other in this game. And this is going to be a fun one to watch because I always love seeing the special teams game. And I know how important it is. But I want to see which brother is going to have the best snap of the game. So I want to, I look for those little things in life. And those are the things. You got to look at the snaps and who's going to do a better job. Is the big brother going to show the little brother off, or what's going to happen?
Brett, if I hear Blake Ferguson's name, I'm angry. I'm sure you're the same with Reed Ferguson. I know who the Dolphins long snapper is, but if I hear his name in a game, I am not a happy camper.
As long as it leaves the points on the board, I don't mind. 3 points is points on the board. It doesn't bother me. But if I hear Blake or Reed Ferguson's name in this game, I'm going to text you immediately and be like, "Yep, I heard it." So,
yeah,
if it gets mentioned, we should. What we should do is this is something that I saw on another channel. I don't remember what channel it was though, but during games they have this bingo board, and it's things that you predict that are going to happen in the game. You can say, announcers mention Blake and Reed Ferguson or something like that, or they're going to mention this or that. And you go off of this board and you play bingo with it. And if whoever wins, gets a prize on the channel or something. But I was thinking back to that and like, damn, that's actually a good idea, that we could do. And the ones that we miss and stuff like that, it's always good to do. But I was thinking back to that. I'm like, man, that would be fun to do. It's something that I don't want to steal it from another channel. Don't get me wrong. But I like that idea. I thought that was a cool thing that they were doing. But I do want to get into two more things before I let you go, man. I know you got to work late tonight. So I want to get to these two things and talk about them. First one is going to be the 3 things that you want to see from your Miami Dolphins in this game. And I'm going to say the 3 keys to the game for the Miami Dolphins to get a win this week against the Buffalo Bills. So give me your 3 keys to the game for the Miami Dolphins to beat the Buffalo Bills, and then I'll give you my 3, and then we'll get into score predictions for the game.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, keep Tua clean. Keep him upright. keep him clean. So that I'm getting some echo over here, Brett.
No worries.
No, I guess it's gone. Keep Tua clean, keep him upright, keep him just keep him clean. That's it with Tua. Secondly, shut down the Bills running game, because that's something the Bills, you're right, they want to do. They want James Cook to go off on them. And if he does, that's going to be a long afternoon. And number 3, I would say protect the middle of the field. The linebackers have to have a better game, all in all. I'm talking about David Long. I'm talking about Jerome Baker. They need to play better football. So if they protect the middle of the field, if they shut down James Cook in the running game, and if they keep Tua clean, I think they stand a good shot of winning this game.
Yeah, I agree with you with what you're saying. I just don't think that the Dolphins are going to win this game, because I'm a Buffalo Bills fan with a big passion, and I know Bills Mafia would hate to see me say that the Dolphins are going to win this game, so I'm not going to predict that the Dolphins will win this game. But I will say this, though. For the Buffalo Bills, 3 keys to the game, which is going to be having to stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You got to make sure that you're doing that. That's the biggest thing. 2 high safeties, whatever the case may be, you cannot let these guys get loose and get behind you. You got to play as deep as possible. Do whatever it takes to not let these players have a big game. So the biggest thing for me, that's the number 1 key to the game for the Buffalo Bills, is going to be play physical against these 2 players. And that involves playing man coverage, and it's going to be press man coverage at the line of scrimmage. Jam them at the line of scrimmage. Do whatever it takes to make sure that they can't get behind you. And if you do that, then that's going to disrupt the timing of the route, and that's going to make Tua uncomfortable as well. So you got to make sure that you're playing press man coverage on these guys. Play tight coverage and get involved. It might get chippy. You might get a holding penalty. You might get called for pass interference, whatever the case may be. But that's okay with me in this game. You got to play chippy. You got to have tight coverage. You got to do whatever it takes to win this game, and play as tight as you can on both Waddle and Hill. And then second for me, it's going to be on offense. The Bills are going to have to establish the run to set up the pass in this game. And if you run the ball well on the Miami Dolphins, and it's getting right into what you're saying, I'm going to take what you said and twist it around, and I'm going to say the opposite of how the Bills can win this game, which is get James Cook involved, get him running the ball, establish the run, and then set up the play action pass where you get Allen to do bootleg plays and stuff like that. Get him to move the ball around and get it to your playmakers. And even if it's a short pass, whatever the case may be, get the ball to your playmakers, get them in space, get them to get yards after the catch, and be able to move the ball down the field. And then the third thing for me is going to be make sure that you play within yourself in this game for the Buffalo Bills. This is the game where, like we talked about, there's emotions that get involved in a rivalry game against a team that you've had, success against over the last couple of years. This team is going to be chippy from the get-go. Both teams are going to be chippy. I can tell. That's the way that it's going to go. You got Christian Wilkins, who's always been a little pain in the booger to Josh Allen. I'm going to say that with all due respect. I do like Christian Wilkins as a player. Don't get me wrong. I do. It's part of the game. I get it. Some of the things that he does,
Christian Wilkins talks a lot, Brett.
Oh, he talks a lot of crap. So does Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to say that. But some of the things that he does just doesn't need to be in the game. I'm going to say that right now. I don't want to say it, what's going on in the piles and everything. You've seen it. You look it up on YouTube. Look it up everywhere. You can find what's going on in the pile and how disrespectful that is in the game. I think that's the kind of playground crap that you can do, when you're playing against your buddies and everything. I get that, okay? But you're playing in the NFL. Be respectful to the team that you're playing against. But I want to see a clean game. I want to see, no fights, no chips, no nothing like that. Let's just get the ball and make the best team win. And, that's the case that it's going to be for me. I want to see the best team win out there on the field. And if the Dolphins are that team, okay, I'll accept that they were the best team that day. I'm not going to say that they're the better team, whatsoever, but they might have been the best team that day. So I want to see the Bills be able to play their best game this week, play within themselves. Don't make the mistakes out there on the field that you normally see. Don't miss tackles, stuff like that. Play within yourself and make this a fun game and a game that the entire nation is going to like.
Yeah.
I ran out of breath there. So
now this is a game that everybody's going to be watching. This is probably the game of the week this week.
Oh, definitely. This is a game. I mean, if you look at who's going to be covering it, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, the best of the best on CBS are going to cover this game. I do want to get into one last thing before I let you go, though, which is going to be the weather for this game, which is, I think, is going to be important. So the game temperature in this game is going to be right around the low 70s. So it should be mostly sunny skies, winds around 6 to 7 miles an hour, somewhere in that range. But it's going to be a good game, not a lot of wind, which it should be a fun game in Orchard Park this week. But I want to get into this because it's really important. I want to see Bills Mafia show up in this game and make it a big one, get loud, get physical, not physical, but get loud, hit those chairs, hit the tables, do whatever it takes. Let's be as loud as we can, make it as uncomfortable as we can for the Dolphins.
Don't worry, Brett. Tables are going to die on Sunday. Lots of tables are going to die.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of, I will say the stuffed Dolphins are going to die as well. So I'm sorry to see that. That's something that, we got to do. So that happens. But let's come out of here with a win and let's switch to the fish and find a way to get a W out there as well. But I want to get into the last subject before I let you go, man. And I want to hear your score prediction for the game.
I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a good old-fashioned shootout. I think this is going to be a game that we're going to be talking about, you and I, and, for a long time. But I think the Dolphins are going to pull it out, 30-37.
Okay. I like that. I'm going to take the Bills to win this game. I'm going to say by final score of 34-28, Buffalo Bills are going to win this game. And it's going to be close at the beginning. The Bills are just going to find a way to pull it out at the end. Might get closer when Tua gets a last-minute touchdown, try and bring it back into the game. But you're going to see this game be a lot of fun, physical game, and it'll be one that's going to be remembered for a long time, like you said. So it's going to be a game that the Bills squish the fish, though, and move into first place in the AFC East where they belong, get right back to the top of the mountain, and get back on track to play the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 5 in London. So, Keith, I want to say thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate you coming on the Go Bills podcast. It's always a pleasure to have you, man. You're always welcome to come back on the show as well. And, I wanted to say this, though, guys. If you don't know Keith, he is on the AFC East Summit with myself, Jake Podger. We also have Chris and Anthony as well. That's on the show. And if you're new to my channel, go on over to the Nickel City Mafia. Check out the AFC East Summit. That show is on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., as well as we also do shows with the Red, White, and Bills and Nickel City Mafia on a couple of other shows. Those shows run for the Red, White, and Bills Wednesday, and we also have a show on Saturday that we do with the Red, White, and Bills. Wednesday show is on Red, White, and Bills, and then Saturday show is the Red, White, and Ruthless show that's on Nickel City Mafia's channel. So if you're new to my channel, don't forget to like and subscribe to both the Red, White, and Bills and Nickel City Mafia. And then Keith, I believe, and I may be jumping the gun on this though, but you're talking about doing a new show that's coming up within the next couple of weeks as well with some guys as well.
Yeah.
Has that gotten in the works yet, or am I jumping the gun a little bit too soon?
We've talked about it. I just wanted to get through Bill's week before I entertained all that. Get through my wedding, get through Bill's week. It's been a busy couple of weeks.
That's right. You just got married as well. So I want to say congratulations to you and your wife as well. Hopefully she's watching. If she's not, do send all my love to your family, man. I really do. Appreciate you taking the time, man. I know it's tough, honeymoon stage is tough right now. So got to get on her good side. So if I have to send flowers over, whatever I have to do to make sure you're on her good side still, I'll help you out as much as I can, man. But I'm going to let you go, man. Real quick, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow Go Bills Podcast on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, as well as Threads. And you can find us on our website, gobillspodcast.com. Click on over to the website. You can find all of our upcoming shows that we will be doing with the likes of Dolphin Keith, Nickel City Mafia, Red, White, and Bills. All the shows that we're doing, it's all listed on there as well. And you can find all our social media platforms that we're on there as well. So click on over to that website and check it out as well. This is Brett with the Go Bills Podcast, and I do appreciate all Bills Mafia watching the show. To the Dolphins fans, sorry for the loss that's going to happen on Sunday, but we will see you later in the year in Miami for the last game of the season. Can't wait for that game. I will be at that game as well. So we'll see you in week 18 for that game as well. But don't forget to enjoy this game, have fun, be safe, make it a fun one. And as always, go Bills.
Go Fins.